Welcome back to another episode of Backyard Builds. This week we're going to fix the rails, address the steering and start to mount the engine. Let's go. So when I purchased the truck, I actually asked the guy who owned it, did it have a notch in it? He said no. Apparently we have two different ideas of what a notch is. As far as I'm concerned, any cutout in the rail is a notch. So we then go to the other extreme, which he might have been thinking of, which is the same as the International chassis in the shed there, which is quite a large notch. But either way, I don't like it in the front of this truck. It realistically doesn't need to be there. So we're going to address that problem now. So what we're going to do is walk you through how we're doing it. So it is a little bit hard to sort of get an aspect of how much distance there is from the top of this leaf spring to the bottom of this rail. What I'm going to do is just jam a ruler in there. We've got near on 170 mil. 170 mil with the motor in. That axle is never going to touch the chassis. If it does, we've hit a really big bump and the rest of it's going to be on the ground anyway, so we're in trouble. Realistically, that doesn't need to be there. So what we're going to do is actually go through how I'm going to repair it. First step is going to be actually take the brake lines off. As you can see, they were very well fitted. There's a nut actually floating on that brake line for some unknown reason. I don't know whether it was to stop it vibrating or hold the weight of it, or someone just miscalculated what line fitting was on the end of here. Either way, I'm going to bust this out first. But looking at what we need to do, I'm just going to run a little straight edge across the bottom there and see what we've got. It looks like we've got a two-way peak. We might need to split that, so we might make that flange come up on an angle, this one come across, a little weld across the bottom, but we're going to make an angle essentially that comes down underneath. This is actually like a structural section, so a PFC, which I would have never have used in a million years. But the idea that we're going to be is to cut above the PFC, cut down on an angle, so all my joints are on an angle, and then we'll run under the rail, probably on an angle as well. Make a brand new folded angle that mimics the rail originally, and then get that in there. So what we can do then is make that out of steel. I'll have to go and grab the vernier, but I'm pretty sure this is about 3 mil. So we're just under 3 mil, so we'll replace it with some like 3.2. I've got some bright form here. We'll cut out 2 pieces, stitch them in, and sand it off, make it look like never happened. Let's do it. Down here, I actually got some engine mounts as well, so just testing them, seeing what bolts I need. So they're a 7/16. Looks like I need about a 1-inch bolt. They're 1.5, so just a touch long. By the times we get a washer and a spring washer on there and it takes up the difference, that'll work well. So these things are still available. Being in Australia, it is a little bit harder to find stuff for an FE. I found Rock Auto really good. So I got 2 engine mounts, transmission mount, starter motor, and a few other bits and pieces, all delivered into Australia within a week, and about a quarter of the price that I would have paid. Those engine mounts alone, so the 3 mounts, so 2 engine, 1 trans, I priced up here in Australia, $120. They were 30 bucks delivered from the States. They were here within a week. So for those of you playing with the old American stuff, it is a good option. So I just got that terrible brake line out of the way. Just went and grabbed a bit of cardboard. So it's just like arts and crafts time with Mr. Squiggle. It's upside down, Miss Daisy. So what we're going to do is we're going to come along the top edge of the rail, roughly about where I wanted to start my cutout. Yep. What I'm going to do is push it against there, push against the cardboard on the rail, reach under, going upside down just like Mr. Squiggle. and try and mark exactly where that rail's going to be without moving cardboard too much. So what that gives me is my angle up and my angle across. Draw those two together with the ruler, work out a patch size, trim it out, transfer it to some sheet, and cut it out. So what we're going to do is a pretty wobbly line. What we're going to do is take the average of it, the best we can. This side's a bit straighter. So we now know that there is an intersection point or an angle change. So what we can do is we'll have a flange off the bottom for the rail, we'll fold it up in the pan brake, and happy days. So I'm just marking out our template. So I've got where the knot starts and where it finishes. So we're going to go a little bit beyond each end. 57mm rail is off the bottom. Problem being, I can fold one but not the other. As that comes out on a 90-degree angle, or perpendicular angle to the bottom of the rail, it's actually going to intersect with this side. So it's going to leave me a little gap down at the bottom which I can't actually fold. So what I might be better to do is strip this short section, just with a 57mm strip that I'll cut, and we'll weld it on. So now we have the cardboard template all done up. It allows us to put it down on the rail. Check how it's going to look. So it's pretty close to that hole, so I'll probably knock another 10mm off that edge. All in all, it's pretty good. Let's make a left, let's make a right, weld them together, see how we go. So it's been a couple of days since I made that cardboard template. I actually went and grabbed a set of verniers and just double checked the rail thickness. And it turns out it was actually closer to 4mm than it was to 3mm. So I asked around, got some 4mm off Thomas. So what I've done is I have laid our cardboard template down, marked around it, so we'll cut 2, and I've also cut a strap. Because it is 4mm now, I won't be able to fold it in the pan brake, so the bottom will be welded. So we'll go through how to weld and dress corner to corner. Going to cut it on the vertical bandsaw. So get into it. So before I fab these up, I just gave him a quick hit. I clamped them together, gave him a quick hit on the linear so they're both the same. But before we fab them up with the bottom flange off them, what I'm going to do is actually use it to mark it out. So what I've done is I've just quick gripped 2 little angle tabs, and then using the 4mm that we cut off, I'm going to use those as packers, because I know that that's where I want the bottom of the rail to be flush. So we're going to put this plate on, set it up where it's riding level on both, and mark around the edge. Then what we'll do the same on the other side, cut both out, add the flanges to these and fab them up, and then cut them all in. So I've just cut the flanges and tack them up. So what we've got is 3 pieces to make one. I would have much preferred to have folded it, but as I showed you, you can't actually do it. So we've got good prep in here. We've also got a nice outside corner to corner weld. So what we're going to do is go out and mark 45s across the bottom of the rail now. So the reason why we try and triangulate all cuts is it actually adds strength. So it doesn't give it a defined fold line as the load runs diagonally across it. So triangles are the strongest shape because all 3 sides will share the same load. So that's why we use them. We'll go and mark these out, and we'll get to the setup on cutting the rail. So what I've done is I've actually got this piece at 75 equal angle. It's quite thick, probably about 6-8 mil thick. We've just clamped it to the top of the rail, so it'll help support the rail, the front of the rail, when we cut the center section out. Bloody warm, but we're getting it done. Dad's just over there having a look at some brake stuff. I'm doing this side of the rail. So got it all tacked up, got it cut out. So I swapped the C clamps for some big F clamps. As you can see, we've got a nice gap all the way around. Sanded a little bit too much out of that, but that's okay. Got a good V prep on it. What I'm going to do is actually put some vertical gussets on the backside that will tie the original into the plate, and as well as hold this angle for me. So everything's really flush at the moment. So we're just going through and tapped it with a hammer. So we'll tack those in the backside. We'll get 2 cut up, tack them in the backside, and then weld it up on the bench, and I'll show you how we sand it to get a nice radius to make it look like it never happened. So as you can see, I've just tacked those 50mm gussets in. What that's going to do is I'll weld those first. That'll help hold the angle. So when I weld this outside corner here, this is going to try and pull up. So if they're holding top and bottom plate together, it should limit the amount that pulls up. Then crack a good outside weld all the way down here, and then I'll show you how to sand that up. So I've just welded it all up. So as you can see, I've welded the inside as well. That's just because we're going to sand a radius on the outside. I do most of my notches like that. So that international is the exact same, so everything's welded inside. We did the outside first just to make sure that there's plenty of peno, and there was, which was good. So, grinding it up. What I use is a 36 grit on a backing pad. So they're just a plastic backing pad, helps keep the disc flat. So first pass, I've already done. So what I try and do is use the backing pad to run up on the part, to keep it flat, and then what we do is sort of half square it off. Do the bottom side the exact same. Next pass will be now a 45, and then we'll do intermediate steps in between to give it a radius. As you can see, really nice radius on it now. Go through and hit it with an 80 and then an orbital. Smooth it up real nice, it'll look good. Then we'll go and put it in the front end. I'll show you how to do check for flushness on the other side. Went ahead while the GoPro was charging up, and I've welded out this side. So if we come around the back, good peno, really happy. Little bit of a step here. The rail actually tapers a bit more than I thought, so we'll fill that in. I'm gonna box it anyway. So now I'm gonna sand that off. But what I might do is fill a couple of holes that aren't needed anymore, ones that were drilled for the previous engine. What I've got is a copper block. What we do, copper block underneath, quick grip clamp on it, and then we plug them up. Then we can sand them flat. Also, tidy up where the old boxing plates were. Get a boxing plate on it, then attack the other side. One of us is hard at work and the other isn't. Anyway, how we check for our fitment is we grab a ruler, we run it across the top. See how there's no gap in there? That means it's flush. So when we sand it off, it'll look really good. Should look something like that once it's all sanded up. So that's just roughed in with a 36. I'll hit it with an 80, hit it with some primer after. For those of you wondering, Still have 170mm with no weight. The compressor's about 30mm with the motor in it, so that's still 140mm. If it hits the leaf on the rail, we've got bigger problems than that, don't we? Yeah. So we're just trying to get this in before that storm hits. So, as I said, next thing's up were the boxing plates. So, I've actually jumped ahead. I've already done one side. So, as you can see, 3mm bright form, all welded in there. So what we did was, as normal, made a cardboard template, put the folds on the cardboard template and scored it with a razor. So what that allowed me to do was actually bend where I wanted the fold. So I placed it in the rail. I used a tool called a sliding bevel. So what we were able to do with the sliding bevel is actually measure the angle that we needed. So put it over in the pan brake, folded it up. So I cut the 3mm bright form, cut it down to size with a grinder, and then we jumped across to the bandsaw, cut the profile with the bandsaw, marked it out, folded them up, and managed to get to that point. So I've got one side all tacked in, copper prime both sides, actually painted one side as well, so it should outlast me, that's for sure. This might not be the final iteration of this truck, but this is where it's going to be for a while. So, other side's all made up, ready to tack in, but just waiting for that storm to come through, and then might do it this afternoon or in the morning. So we've actually only got about 6 weeks at the moment till Summernats. No motor in, but you'll see what happens on the next episode of Backyard Builds. Thanks for watching.